Hey everyone and welcome to Storytime. My name is Jake and today we are going to be looking at the subreddit r/maliciouscompliance, where people conform to the letter but not the spirit of a request. If you're new around here, please do hit subscribe down below so that you never miss out on another video. But for now, let's sit back, relax, and enjoy some malicious compliance. The time I did exactly what the Japanese police and Mr. Belligerent wanted me to do. To start, this is not malicious compliance against the Japanese police, as it is stated against a customer from hell. Oh, and if the police are called to a dispute, they won't take sides unless a law is being broken in front of them. That is for the courts to sort out. They just keep the peace, talk to the two parties, and try to work things out. On to the story. In 2008, I was a club owner in Japan. I rented the place from a rascally old man who let me do pretty much whatever I wanted. The club had a motorized mirror ball hanging from the ceiling, a pool table, and projector there left over from the former renters that the landlord said I was free to use. I made a lot of money using the downtime. A club is usually wasted space during the day, setting up party space type events. After weddings, reunions, and the like. Here is an actual picture of some of the sit-down type events. The tables would disappear at night, and you have a dance floor. One party got a little rowdy, and during to festivities, the crazy host lady thought it was a good idea to pick up a chair and swing it over her head. Don't ask me why, she was very drunk. The arc of the swing launched the mirror ball into the air, smashing to the floor in 1,000 shiny pieces. After my staff cleaned up the broken glass, she promised to pay for it, and I thought that was that. I jumped online, found a like model on Amazon.jp, and added the price to their bill. I don't remember the price, but being motorized, put it up past $100, with non-motorized versions selling for much less. About 3 hours after, a very angry host lady's husband shows up receipt in hand, saying I scammed the drunk host lady and he was going to call the police and shut me down, and rabble. Our back and forth went on for quite a bit, and honestly, I was getting a bit tired of his macho in-your-face attitude. He then said he would also talk to my landlord and get me evicted. I was at the eye-rolling stage and sarcastically said, "Oh, don't get him involved, you will regret making him mad." Unfortunately, sarcasm doesn't translate well in Japanese, and he jumped on my humor gaff to say I was threatening his life and called the cops. The cops were totally professional, but a bit overzealous in responding to the call. 3 patrol cars and 2 bikes showed up. I guess the guy made it out that I was in a league with the mob, and I guess Gaijin plus Yakuza in the 2000s equals overkill. I'm very sorry if I awfully pronounce those. They listened to us together, then they separated us and got each side of the story. Then, just to be sure, the police talking to each of us switched places, and asked us all over again the same questions. Slowly, the cars, one by one, went back to work, leaving only 2 motorcycle cops with us in a back and forth argument, all very tedious. Finally, one of the cops pulled me aside and said, "Look, he is willing to pay for the damage, but only if you apologize for threatening his life." Being American, where we see lawsuits everywhere, I was very reluctant to say such a thing. So I walked back to the man and the police, and I asked everyone, if I apologize for him getting frightened, this whole business is done. Angry man has his arms crossed with a macho smug, "Yeah, say you're sorry," look on his face. The 2 policemen are also waiting for me to speak. I am really sorry. Really so sorry you get scared so easily. Had I known, implying your weakness, I would have chosen my words more carefully. Damn, if extremely polite Japanese can't turn into a slap in the face. Dude turns beet red, and I swear to you, the policeman on the left let his guard down just enough to let the corners of his mouth twitch into a grin, just for a moment. Then the policeman said, "He did as you asked, now time to go home." And they herded him to his car. I always love these foreign stories like Japanese, Chinese, like Brazilian, all these like foreign stories, but I never know whether to do a foreign accent because if I do it, it's kind of taking the mick in a bit. I don't know. Tell me what you think of me doing accents because I can probably try them, but I don't know if it'll be like offensive, if you know what I mean. Just let me know in the comments. Don't hurry. A story of a benevolent compliance. About a year ago, I was in New Orleans with friends for the weekend. At the end of the day, we scattered to our various Airbnbs and hotels, with plans to get changed and cleaned up and meet for dinner at a restaurant on Lake Pontchartrain. To protect the restaurant, let's just say that the name was spelled and pronounced exactly like the Blue Crab. I'd tell you the waiter's name, but I can't remember it. I'll call him Acronym, because I know you all love it when people use acronyms in these stories. We'd been out in the sun all day, so I was a little tired and not thinking entirely clearly. I drove myself there and arrived about 10 minutes late. My friends were there already and had ordered drinks already. I sat down and our waiter, A, came over with water and a menu for me. He returned a minute later with my friend's drinks. I ordered a drink. A left and returned with my beer less than a minute later. My friends ordered food without waiting for me to finish reading the menu. I didn't blame them. I was late and we were all famished. A left and came back a minute or so later to take my order. I ordered. Appetizers arrived. A friend ordered another beer. A left and returned with his beer and our food. At this point, I realized I'd almost finished my beer and would also like another one. But I also realized that because I arrived late, ordered late, etc., I was making A make twice as many trips to our table, and I felt bad about it. So I asked him, "Can I get another beer? But please, don't hurry, take your time." We began eating, and a few minutes later, all my friends began laughing at something behind me. I turned around, and there was A, holding my beer in hand, about 15 feet away. He was very slowly walking towards me, with all of the speed of a sloth on downers, just creeping towards me with my beer in his hand and a grin on his face. I eventually got my beer. We had a great meal. A got a good tip too, and I told his manager that he was doing a wonderful job. Thanks, Acronym. I hope to see you next time I'm in town. I don't think I've ever seen it where the malicious compliance is the other person, like, getting malicious compliance. Have we ever seen that before? I don't know. But yeah, I'm really bad at pronouncing acronyms, so that's why I used A. Neighbor made me eat a Raisin Cookie. She won the battle, but I won the war. The bean story reminded me of something that happened when I was a little kid. A little background. My dad thought it was funny to tell me stories about food, knowing that I, like all young children, would completely believe him. Some of the stories were just funny, like broccoli were actually little baby trees, and cauliflower was broccoli that had seen a ghost and got scared. Others were gross and caused me to avoid those foods for quite a while, like telling me that anything red had blood in it. Took me years to try strawberries again. I honestly don't know if his story is why I hate raisins, or if I have always hated them, but even to this day, if I taste anything with a raisin in it, I will spit it right out. More background, I can make myself throw up really easily, like on cue. So, because our kindergarten got out an hour or so before my parents came home from work, I had to go to a neighbor's house after school and wait. This neighbor wasn't very nice to me, or to the other two little kids she was watching, but I think she agreed to watch us because she was home with her daughter anyways, and she wanted the extra money. Well, one day she made cookies and offered us some. I was the oldest child in the group, so while all the other kids immediately grabbed the cookies and started eating them, I asked her if they were chocolate chip cookies, knowing that if they were oatmeal raisin, I'd skip it. Instead of answering me, she put a cookie on a napkin and passed it over. I looked at the cookie very carefully and said, "If this has raisins in it, no thank you. I don't eat raisins." She glared at me and told me that since I had already touched it, I had to eat it. I said that if I ate it, I would get sick. At this point, the other kids realized that the cookies they had happily been munching on were not chocolate chip. So one by one, they started putting their cookies down. The neighbor yelled at me for being a bad influence, which in that moment was true, but also not my fault that the younger kids automatically copy the older kids. And that I had better eat the cookie or else she was going to spank me and then put me in the timeout until my parents got there. Well, I was angry, so I decided to throw up on her. I ate the entire cookie, basically swallowing chunks of it whole, so I wouldn't have to touch the raisins any more than absolutely necessary, and washed it down with a glass of milk. The whole time she is watching me with this sick smile of victory on her face. Right as I finished the last bite, she stands up and goes, "There, was that so hard?" I chose that exact minute to projectile vomit all over the table, her shirt and her shoes. I actually vomited a few times because while I can start at will, stopping isn't really in my control until I am done. Well, of course she was screaming, the other kids were crying, and I was feeling much better about things. I went to the bathroom, mainly to rinse my mouth out, but also to avoid having to help clean up the mess. Thankfully, they had some books and bath toys in there, so I just read and played by myself quietly until my parents came to get me. According to my mum, neighbour was absolutely livid and was telling my mum what had happened, and my mum cut her off and said, "Well, why would you make her eat something she told you would make her sick?" Neighbour made some comment about how parents should be in charge of what kids eat, and my mum just laughed, shook her head and said, "Get used to cleaning up messes then." She knew that I was a notoriously good eater, with only a handful of exceptions due to my dad's creative parenting style. She took me home, and while I didn't get into trouble, she told me that she knew I'd probably done it on purpose, and in the future, I should find a better way to solve things. Is it just me that actually prefers oatmeal raisin to chocolate chip sometimes? There is some times where I'm like, nah, I will prefer a chocolate, but I do like oatmeal raisin. Family I stayed with didn't let us wash undies in their washing machine, so I used the bathroom sink. Sorry for the slight TMI, but it's a funny story. My friend and I stayed with her extended family for a week while we were holidaying together, and they had some really strange rules, including absolutely no TV for their two young sons, 4 and 6. No seasonings on food like sauce or cheese, completely plain foods only. And certain rooms in the house we weren't allowed into, e.g. the game room and upstairs bathroom. We stayed there for free, and in return helped with cooking and watching the kids, so we had to follow the rules perfectly, because the kids told their parents everything. They were good kids, just keen to share, as kids that age are. The strangest rule they had was that guests couldn't wash their underpants in their washing machine. We were to find another way to wash them. The obvious place would be in the shower, but we were only allowed to use the downstairs shower, which drained too slow for a shower to go for longer than about 5 minutes. If we washed our undies, we wouldn't have enough time to properly shower before the water would overflow into the floor. So, we washed our undies in the bathroom sink, the one they would often use to wash their hands and sometimes brush their teeth. They weren't bad or mean people, just a bit odd with some things. I appreciate them having us for the week, and they took us out with them to dinner and paid, and wouldn't accept money for groceries. So I felt a bit bad for doing something I knew they would definitely not like. But what else could we do? Okay, yeah, that's a bit weird, but no cheese and no sauce? Are you kidding me? Psst, I would never go there, even if they paid for everything. No cheese. Hey everyone, I hope you all had a really good day and that you enjoyed that video. If you want to check out some other videos, then click on screen right now, or check out the playlist down below. If you enjoyed that video, then please do leave a like, and if you want to submit your own stories, then you can do so by joining the Discord in the top link in the description. But thank you so much for watching, and I will see you very soon.